I love that line about living each day with joy. So before I start the message today, I wanted to let you know it's Ashaya Tritaya, which is a Hindu festival that happens once a year, and the date varies like our Easter dates vary. It's actually considered the most golden day of the year for them because the word Ashaya has a sense of meaning of eternal, that which never diminishes. So they consider that any initiative that's made on this day or anything that's bought on this day is considered to be good fortune. So since we honor all religions, I thought that we might all think of some initiative that we might make today to choose as our initiative to be our good fortune for the day. Okay, so the kingdoms of consciousness we talked about last week, and I gave you kind of a little overview of the four kingdoms. If you happen to be on our newsletter list, I sent out a little gift. And if you're not on our newsletter list, you can go out to our website, which is at www.csl, southeast spelled out, la.org. And I will make sure that when I welcome you to the newsletter that I send you the gift as well. But today what I want to do is emphasize the first two kingdoms, which is the kingdoms in which most of the time we're living, because they're the kingdoms associated with our human consciousness. And the question for today is this: what's the one choice that you might make today so that you release any blame and victimhood and live in a place in which you're accountable for who you are? So one more time. What's the one choice you can make today so that you release any blame and victimhood and live in a place in which you are accountable for who you are? Well, how do we start doing that? Well, let's go through a little reminder of what Kingdom 1 is about. And I'd like to start with finishing the quote that I read during the meditation. The quote during meditation was this: "There is a God power at the center of every man's being, a presence that knows neither lack, limitation, nor fear, sickness, disquiet, nor imperfection. The presence and power is at the center of all people and all things." Now, the interesting thing about Kingdom 1 is the quote continues. But because everyone is an individual, he can build a wall of negative thoughts between himself and this perfection. This makes it difficult for the true sinner to come to the surface. And when we live in Kingdom 1, what we've done is we've built a wall of our negative thoughts between us and that center of perfection. And it keeps us in Kingdom 1, which is, you might remember from last week, is the kingdom of victimhood. It's the kingdom that's egocentric, and it's the kingdom where things are done to me. And I live basically in a pity party for myself because I'm a victim of circumstances. When we're a victim and everything is being done to us from the outside world, we've given up any power we have. We've totally forgotten that there's this presence and this power at the center of our being. And when we live in a world where we see everything that's happening is not the way we expected it to be, and it's happening because somebody or something has done something. Somebody out there caused it to happen. We can be a victim of circumstances. We can be a victim of Mother Nature. Oh my gosh, there was a big storm and a tree fell on my house. I'm a victim, pity party, happened to me. And we can be a victim of somebody else's success. Look at them, they always get everything, and I'm poor me. Nothing ever comes my way. Anybody ever been in one of those moods? When we're living in Kingdom 1, Most of the statements we make are something like, I only said that because you said blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't blah, 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 blah. If I had the right information, then I would have been able to be as smart as she was, or whatever. You get the pattern here? It's always about somebody else having something that you would like to have, or being in that situation of, I'm a victim. There's little to no truth in Kingdom One because none of us are puppets. We're not victims of what's happening out there. We have a choice. And what we see when we live in Kingdom One comes from some hidden belief that's not true, and it's not the essence of who we are. Living in Kingdom One does not allow us to tap at all into that presence and power that we have talked about being at the center of our being. It's not who we've come here to be. And it's clearly not embracing any power or choice that we have. So, if I had asked you last week to pay attention to some of the levels of consciousness that you were living in during the week, and to become aware of your behavior, because it's really important for us to be aware of who we're being if we're going to be able to move out of Kingdom One into Kingdom Two or Kingdom Three, or even Kingdom Four. Now, I pay attention to my behaviors, and okay, we all live in Kingdom One at some point. This past week, I spent a little bit of time in Kingdom One. I had applied for one of the small business loans, and I read that they had run out of money, and I went out to check to see what was the status of my loan, and I noticed that the bank hadn't even submitted it. Now, I got there on the very first morning, so I'm a little bit annoyed. Well, actually, I was a lot annoyed. It was supposed to be on a first come, first served basis. So I went directly into blaming the bank. How could they have possibly not submitted my application when I was one of the first people there to put my application in? What was the matter with them? What do you mean they didn't submit it? I'm reading my email and talking to myself. So I lived in that kingdom for a few minutes. I went around the house talking to Nancy and Bob and saying, guess what happened to me, to us as a center? It was easy to live in Kingdom One there and to be a victim because I was really aggravated, and this loan was really important to our center. However, what happens is that when you're living in Kingdom One, you're living in the blame game. So what happens when you become aware that you're living in Kingdom One? It's time to get out of that and to make some choices. Now, I typically can move from Kingdom One to Kingdom Two pretty quickly. And I'd like you to just pay attention when you feel yourself living in that blame and shame game and aggravated about something, that you go through the process of saying, oh, I'm having a pity party. And then see what you can do to get out of Kingdom One. What it takes to get out of Kingdom One is to let go of the blame. To let go of any shame that you're doing or any blame that you're doing, to let go of the aggravation that it's somebody else's fault that this didn't happen, and to truly embrace our philosophy that everything is in divine order and divine timing. Now that's a tough one when you're really attached to something, to really believe that everything is in divine order and divine timing. But that's the way you live and move out of Kingdom One. You have to let go of the blame. It's not an easy task. For some of us, we want to live in that pity party. We want to tell everybody how horrible it was. The more that you tell other people how terrible things are around a certain situation, the more you're living in Kingdom One and the deeper you're digging your hole to get out of. So awareness helps. And when you become aware that you're playing the victim and complaining, which I did for about probably 30 to 40 minutes, then you can shift yourself and say, okay, what can I do in this situation? What power do I have? What control do I have over this situation? A man named Mitchell said this: it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it that matters. That's clearly the message that you need if you want to move from kingdom 1 to kingdom 2. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it that matters. So we move into kingdom 2, which is the consciousness not of everything happening to me, but a consciousness of everything is happening by me. Kingdom 2 is a significant shift from the blame game, from victimhood. And as we talked about last week, in Kingdom 2, when things are being done by me, we're approaching life from this human perspective, still in the linear mind, but we've crossed over that critical line of integrity. Integrity is what divides the first kingdom from the second one. Because now we're choosing to be accountable for our actions. We're choosing to recognize that we have choices. We're choosing to see what our behaviors are doing and look at our intentions. There's a little comic strip, I don't even know if it's still available, but the comic strip had a possum named Pogo, and he was very gentle and kind, and often he was the victim of some madness around himself. And he made this statement: everywhere I go, there I am again. So we can't escape who we are, but we can have some control over who we are and how we react when something happens to us or happens in our world around us. So we learn to act rather than react. So Kingdom 2 is about taking that perspective of, I can create something here rather than react to something that's happening. So there was this turtle, and his name was Titi. And he actually was born really in a beautiful, beautiful forest. And his as he came out of the mud that that his mom had laid the egg in, he noticed, oh, this is really nice. I'm getting out of this. I'm starting to be feeling really live. And he noticed there was this shell on his back, but when they're first born, turtle shells are a little bit soft. So he just was enjoying the beautiful place, the lovely trees and the bushes. He was in Kingdom 1. Oh, hey, I'm aware, I'm alive, I'm aware of who I am. And so he started on his journey to the river. But pretty soon his shell got really hard, and it was a burden. And he began to feel burdened by having to carry this shell, and he started getting aggravated and started complaining. Why is it that I can't finish getting born? I need to get rid of this shell. Kingdom 1 consciousness. There it was, had a shell that was a burden. So he was walking down this path, and he noticed a bush that had some beautiful butterflies in it. And the butterflies were moving it around in the bush, and he was watching the butterflies, and he forgot about his burden and started really enjoying his life again. Hey, he'd moved back into Kingdom 2. Then all of a sudden, the butterflies fly away. And he's yelling at them, wait, come help me get rid of my shell so that I can fly with you. And the butterflies just kept flying away. So now he's thinking about his shell again and thinking, I have to get rid of this shell. It is truly a burden. Poor me. Why didn't I finish getting rid of this shell when I was coming out of the mud? He's back in Kingdom 1. So he saw this rock and he thought, well, maybe if I get close enough to the rock, I can knock this shell off of me and then I'll be free of it. So he was starting to take control again. He had moved back into Kingdom 2. And he climbed up in the rock And he thought, well, if I jump off, then the rock's probably going to crack and it'll come off. Well, he jumped off the rock. Well, you guessed it. Now he's upside down in the dirt. So he's back in Kingdom 1 complaining that, look at me. Now not only do I have a shell on my back, but now I'm stuck and I can't even move. Well, along came Bunny the rabbit. And the rabbit says to TT, do you need some help? And TT's thinking, sure, I need some help. I'm stuck here. I can't move. So he was feeling sorry for himself, but he was starting to think, well, hey, at least I got some help. So Bunny turns him over and he starts again moving towards the river. He's thinking, okay, now I'm in the second kingdom. I'm just going to keep walking. Eventually I'm going to find the river and this shell certainly is going to come off. So he became aware that he was starting to think about what he wanted to manifest and how he wanted to live his life. Now, next week, I'm going to finish the story and let you know how TT found Kingdom 3. But at least now he's heading towards the river, and he started complaining when he watched the bunny hopping and having a great time, and he's complaining to the bunny now, why can't I hop? Why can't I get rid of the shell? And the bunny's trying to explain to him that the shell is part of who he is, but he really wants to get rid of it. So he's kind of gone back to Kingdom 1. But we'll see next week how he moves into Kingdom 2 and actually finds Kingdom 3. When we move into that second kingdom, we become aware of our thinking. We become aware that we have choices in life and that sometimes our expectations don't get met. I can tell you that most of the time when I'm in Kingdom 1, it's because I had an expectation that didn't get met. So there's that awareness of becoming conscious enough that when something doesn't happen, I try to remember that things are in divine order and in divine timing. And it's important that the way we move from Kingdom 1 to Kingdom 2 is to have that realization around, I have choices in my life. When I realized that I don't want it to do something about that loan that hadn't happened, and that I didn't want to live in the pity party, I sat down, I sent an email to the person that had taken my application, and I said, I just want to know that if more money gets available, that my application is going to be one of the first that's submitted from your institution. Please, please reply. Now, I haven't heard a reply yet. Now, I can tell you if I haven't heard a reply by tomorrow morning, I'm not going to go to Kingdom 1. I'm going to stay in Kingdom 2, and I'm going to head to the bank and have a personal conversation with the loan officer that says, I need to know what to do in order to get my loan put at the top of the list. Because it was, that was the way the rules were supposed to be. So in that sense, I'm acting rather than reacting. I'm creating what I want rather than living in that sense of helplessness and hopelessness. We live a lot of our lives in Kingdom 2, and that's by design. We're humans. There's things that it's necessary for us to manifest. We need to take charge of our lives. We need to pay our bills. We need to make sure we have food on the table. In this day and age, we need to be certain that we are staying home and staying safe. Or if we go out, that we're being conscious enough to wear a mask and gloves. This sense of us living on this planet and really being spiritual beings, because we say all the time, there's no spot where God is not, and there's nothing that's not part of the kingdom of the divine. So in our humanness, we also have this spiritual beingness. And our job is to live with the paradox and to be clear enough about what it is we want and what it is we need, that we can recognize when we're in that sense of Kingdom 1, it's happening to me, and out there is changing my life in a way that I don't want it to be changed, or living in kingdom 2 where this is what is. Hey, we're all now in stay-at-home mode, most of the people in the United States. And this is what it is. This is the reality. And we have a choice. How do we make this stay-at-home mode a mode in which we don't feel lack, we don't feel limitation, and we truly can have the courage to embrace who we are and what we might be doing while we're in this mode? Next week, we're going to talk about the spiritual levels of consciousness and what that means. In the meantime, I want to leave you with these words of Ernest Holmes from Your Invisible Power. We are doing the divine business of God in all of our activities. We have all the resources we need. We have no competitors. And the business is always a function of good. We must claim this partnership as our own. Accept the counsel of our silent partner, God, and realize that all we create through this partnership always results in more good. What are you going to create this week to result in more good? Let's pray. So taking a deep, nourishing breath and connecting with that center and presence that's right in the center of our beingness. Knowing that all that God is, the love, the joy, the freedom, the ease, the grace, that we are as well. What I know to be the truth is that, having listened to this message this week, that if you notice yourself in a pity party, or you notice yourself in that sense of blame and aggravation and victimhood, that it comes to the surface that you have a choice to move into kingdom 2, to move into that sense of having some control over your life, and to allow you and the divine to create something for good. So I'm grateful. I'm always grateful to remember that the God without is the God within each of us, and that God is directing our lives in a way that is filled with courage and abundance and perfect health and perfection. So I just release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, because I know the truth. The divine has already called it done. In the divine, where there is no timing, it's already completed. So I can just let it be. I say amen, and we affirm it together. And so it is. So in our service, this would be the time where we typically would be creating an offering. And we have all kinds of ways for you to support our center so that when we are no longer at stay at home, that we can actually have a center to come back to. You can use the donate button on the site, which is cslsoutheastla.org. You can use Zelle or Venmo, and you just send that as a Zelle through the apps to 225-287-8887. This week we were able to set up a texting. So you take the amount that you want to send and you text it to the number 1-225-320-5100. Again, just put the amount that you want to text in the text box and send it as a text to 1-225-320-5100. The first time that you do it, it will ask you to set up an account. And after that, if you text it, it will just take the money and send it to us. You can also mail the donation to the address that's on our website, which is CSL Southeast LA, care of Reverend Larry Marie Heil at 445 Magnolia Wood Avenue in Baton Rouge, 70808. Let's just think about our donation this week, or our tithe, whatever it might be. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal, bless, and prosper. It does good work in the world. and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And again, if you need any of this information, it is on our Center for Spiritual Living Facebook page and also on our website. So I appreciate your joining us. We thank you for the donations. Ernest Holmes says this: we should allow the gifts of life to flow out to everything we touch, everything we meet, every situation we contact, then wherever we go. Every situation is blessed. Every person is helped. Every discord is harmonized without our even being conscious of it. Isn't that a wonderful thought, that everything can be turned into harmony without us even having to be conscious of it? If you want to talk more about our service and connect with us in community time over a conference call, just call the number 515-604-9000. There is a participation code, and that's 475220. And we hope that you'll join us. We have the call at 11:30, which allows you to take a little break and get a cup of coffee, join us, and have a conversation. We will be doing some discussion and also some processes around how do we move from Kingdom 1 to Kingdom 2, and how do we move from Kingdom 2 to Kingdom 3, which we'll be talking about next week. So until we meet again, may you be wrapped in the arms of love and kindness. And may you always remember that there is a divine presence and a power that lives at the center of your being. And know that you can tap into it for your courage, your abundance, your perfect health, your perfection. Thanks for joining us. See you again next Sunday.